Did it not announce it?
No, it didn't. That's weird.
I've never had it announce it in
You
mine.
are recording.
Oh, no, it's very loud. So, like, randomly, I'll be like, oh, yeah, recorded. And it'll go, you're being recorded. Awfully loud. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I never remember ahead of time.
No, yeah, it is. It says it's recording now. So we'll just cut this part about us being like, is it not?
It's all right.
All
I get
right.
to edit it anyway, so.
I am going to mute and turn off my camera just a second here while I do one more quick sweep of my computer and make sure that it's in good shape to share my screen.
I hope nobody can hear my kids' TV upstairs. It's very loud to me, but I'm like, ooh.
I have they're sleeping now. I'm hoping that will remain the case, but I have 2 cats. And one of them is an older kitty and he's going deaf. Oh. Yeah, I've got one behind me back here on the chair.
Oh, yeah.
And I have another one here. You can't really see too well, but he's like curled up in there.
Oh.
But he's old. He's 14 this year. Not too old, but he's starting to go deaf and he's just getting loud. He'll just walk around yelling loudly.
Mine does that. He's not old. He just does it by choice because he's, the king of the house. It's fine.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that is not the case because he's very distracting when he's screaming. So.
Yeah, that's all right. No, mine got mad that I kept pushing him off my keyboard, so now he's sleeping on the pillows next to me.
Yeah, that's one thing the pandemic has done is made people a lot more tolerant of people's home situations. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's Tasha. Hello.
Hi.
I need to take my hair down so we can be twins.
I know. I can't stay for the whole thing, but I definitely wanted to catch the first 25, 30 minutes of it.
Awesome. Glad you're here. Anyone else from your team joining today?
No, everybody's leaving me. They're going home.
Oh, well, I guess I should have known if we were on in time tech time that we should start a little earlier.
Yeah, if you ever want to get my team involved in anything, you got to do it around 10 or 1.
Yeah. We went over to 8:30 Common for lunch today, and I was wondering who was keeping them in business while you guys were all in India.
I know, right? I know.
But they survived.
They did. I'm glad. They've struggled probably, I'm sure.
Yeah. They probably were like, oh, we got to staff down.
I know. Sorry, guys. I got to ask you to take a few days off.
All right. Well, we've got some other folks joining. Welcome. I'll go ahead and start by sharing my slide deck so everyone knows they're in the right place. Well, how about that? Oh, but then I can't see anybody or anything. That's not awesome.
You can switch between windows. That's what I do when I have it up. I'll put the slide up and then just do a tab to the Bevy window.
is what I'm going to have to do because it is.
Lindsay, on the topic of HubSpot social media tool, your LinkedIn is disconnected.
What was that, Katie?
Said on the topic of HubSpot social media tool, your LinkedIn is disconnected.
Ooh, okay, good call. Thank you. I will get that. It keeps saying there's a problem sharing my screen. Madison, since you started it, can you double check to make sure I have and Crystal has presenter rights for that matter?
Yeah, so yours gives me the option to turn your presenter mode off, and Crystal, I have the option to set as host or turn presenter mode off on it.
Mine
I have a
says,
share screen button, so it looks like it should work.
yeah, mine says there's a problem sharing your screen. Try using another web browser to join this event. Like, is there another web browser besides Google Chrome? I'm sorry, I just don't think. Interesting. Well, see if I have another one.
Mine looks like it lets me do it. You can always send me the slide deck, and I can just
Let me
hopefully tab over on your queue.
Yeah, as long as Crystal's works, she's the big deal today. I just was gonna do a couple slides in the beginning. But yeah, Madison, I'm gonna Slack that to you real quick.
Perfect.
So strange. We'll give people just a couple more minutes, but I know we've got a really great presentation and it's a meaty one. So we will want to get to Crystal just as soon as possible. But we'll give, we know we have several more RSVPs. So we'll give it just a few more minutes and wait for some of those other folks to join. But welcome to the first hug of 2022. And I'll go ahead and get started before we do introductions. I have just a couple housekeeping things. So Madison, will you next slide for me? Just as a reminder for everybody, HubSpot has asked us to remain virtual through our Q2 event. So of course we're virtual today, and then our next event, summertime, will also be virtual. And then hopefully we'll get some updates from HubSpot on whether or not we can go back to in-person or some kind of hybrid event. The fact that Inbound is being planned for September as a hybrid event, I think bodes well for us being able to get back to in-person for our hugs as well. But I've really enjoyed getting to have people join who maybe aren't necessarily geographically where Tribute Media is not exactly a geographically desirable location for them to travel, at 3:30 p.m. in the Treasure Valley. So, I'd like to keep a hybrid option so that folks can join us. We've even had people join from Sun Valley and stuff like that. So, we'll definitely still offer that, but I do want to, get the opportunity to meet and greet in person a little bit. And I think we get to have a little bit more candid conversation sometimes that way. So stay tuned for what the second half of the year looks like. Also, just to remind those of you who haven't joined already, we've got a couple of community resources for the Boise Hug. Of course, at community.hubspot.com, you can search Boise, and you will find our Hug group there. We also have a LinkedIn group. I think a lot of the folks on the call today are part of that, but if you're not already, there'll be a link in the slide deck and we'll send us all out. Probably tomorrow. And so please do, join our little community on LinkedIn for updates here and there, and just as a good place to contact each other in between hugs and maybe ask questions or get to know each other better. Just want to give you guys some more opportunities to kind of form a community of HubSpot users here in the Valley. And then finally, on Bevy, the platform we're on today, that's where you'll want to make sure you're subscribed to the Boise Hug so that you do get emails with event notifications. So just unfortunately, because it is a system outside of Tribute Media's HubSpot instance, we don't necessarily get all of your email addresses. So in order for us to be able to continue to invite you to upcoming events, please make sure you're subscribed to the Boise Hug on Bevy. All right, and then next slide. Next, we just want to kind of get to know everybody who's here today briefly. Like I said, we do have a really great presentation with a special guest HubSpot Academy professor. So I do want to get to her as soon as possible. I'm going to do a really truncated version of an introduction of the Tribute Media team really quick. But then I do want to hear from all of our other Hug members. Just briefly, who are you? What HubSpot tools do you use? What company do you work for? And what are you looking to get out of the Hug? So again, I'll just start by doing a quick I'm just going to introduce everyone on my team here. Of course, I'm Lindsay. I am your Hug host. I am a HubSpot certified trainer, and I am the president of Tribute Media, which is a HubSpot partner agency, which just means that we have a lot of great resources within HubSpot to help our clients and people who want to get started with HubSpot tools. So we can help with training, onboarding, all of that good stuff. And of course, Tribute Media uses HubSpot for our own marketing and sales and service. So we do use all those hubs, and my team is joined mostly from our office there. You can see under Caitlin Smart, we've got a good portion of the team there. I'll have you guys wave as I introduce you. Katie, Caitlin Smart, Katie, Kate, Kitty Cat Zimmer Smart, whatever we are calling her. She is down there at the end of the table. She is our client delight master. She's an account manager with Tribute Media, but she does so much more than that. She really makes sure that all Tribute Media clients get a really great experience, and she uses a ton of HubSpot tools to do that. We also have Taylor, who is our social media specialist. So this is a topic near and dear to her heart, and she is excited, I know, to hear from Crystal today. We also have Logan, who is our inbound marketing coordinator. She actually does a lot of Tribute Media's posting. So if you follow Tribute Media on social media, you're familiar with her work. And then we have Alicia. Alicia is our new SEO specialist. Today is actually her first day at Tribute Media. So she is jumping in head first with a hug her first day. So everyone say, welcome, Alicia. And then on the screen here, you have Madison. Madison is helping admin the hug today and helps make sure we're getting emails out to everyone subscribed, and making sure that you all get a follow-up with the recording. And that's Madison. And then I do believe, I don't see you in my squares, but I know Emery's here. Emery is our previous SEO specialist who's now moving into a content specialist role. So she will remain very active in HubSpot in those tools and using pillar content and topic clusters and all of that, and working, directly with Alicia on SEO. And I think that is everyone from my team. Please tell me I haven't forgotten anybody. Okay. So that's the Tribute Media team. And then I'm just going to go ahead and call on each of you just as I see you here in my panel. So Callie Mulvihill.
Yeah. Hi, friends. My name is Callie. I work for Tabooty LMS. We are an e-learning software based out of Eagle. Hubs we use, all of them. We're Sales Enterprise, Service Enterprise, Marketing Enterprise, and Ops Pro. So we are heavily integrated with HubSpot. We use it quite extensively, and more every day, which has been great. And how can this group help me? I just love getting around like-minded folks, and so I love learning something new. So excited to hear from everybody else.
Awesome. Thanks, Callie. And then Cherie, or is it Sherry or Cherie? Sorry. Is it Cherie Prochaska?
Oh, there we go. I was trying to unmute. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, it's Sherry. And I am the director of marketing at the Air Club in Boise. And we just became Marketing Hub Pro users last week. So I'm in the process of starting all the onboarding.
Wonderful. Well, welcome to HubSpot. Yeah, if you're just starting onboarding, you have lots of good stuff to look forward to. And with Marketing Pro, you will definitely benefit from hearing about the social media tools today because those come with Marketing Pro.
Yes, I just linked all of our accounts. So it's like drinking from a fire hydrant right now.
Awesome. Okay, well, welcome. Next, we have Howard. So how are you? Joining us from Canada.
Hello, is it working?
Yes, we don't have your
Yeah,
video.
there we go.
There we go.
There we go. Now he's good. No, my connection's a little bit funky, so I'm just kind of turning the video off to save bandwidth. But yeah, hi, I'm Howard. I work for MTC Solutions as the CRM and digital marketing analyst. And we currently are Marketing Pro, Sales Enterprise, Service Pro, and we're going to be Operations Hub Pro soon. So yeah, that's it's a new world. It's it's a new world.
Yes, and I know from last time you were getting things all organized in the CRM side of things. Hope that's all going well.
Yes, it turns out the job was a lot bigger than I even expected. We now have to have developers come and create a custom tool because SAP and HubSpot don't really like each other, so we are forcing a connection.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Oh, it's lovely, but otherwise everything else is great. So like the social media, like it's good to sit down and hear about the best practices. I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, great to have you again.
Yep.
Jeffrey Bacon. Oh, no, not just yet. Let's see. Let me see if I can unmute you maybe. Oh, I think I unmuted you. Oh, but I still can't hear you.
Oh, how about now?
Yes.
Okay. It's because I've got a button here and then another one on the screen and they have to be synced. I'm Jeffrey Bacon. I'm a federal project manager from the Idaho Workforce Development Council, and I am managing some services on service and an employer incentive on HubSpot CRM. They're related to a grant, the Idaho Youth Apprenticeship Readiness Grant. And I basically use HubSpot to manage, to know where the employers and apprentices are in the stages of providing support services for the apprentices, like helping them if their gas pump goes out, and I pay for them to fix their gas pump so they can go to their training. And then for our employer incentives, where we provide economic stimulus to help absorb the cost of on-the-job training. And I have not done any marketing on HubSpot yet. I've taken their inbound marketing training courses or watched them. One time I had one of those little badges like 2 years ago. So I know a little bit about inbound marketing, but I'm interested in learning about using HubSpot for social media marketing and to accompany my process with an email campaign towards the bottom of the funnel.
Nice. Well, welcome. Good to see you again. And then Michael.
So I'm Michael Scotto DeBusco, and I am the Sales and Marketing Manager for Urban Soccer Park. We're based here in Boise, Idaho, and we sell small-sided soccer fields all across the country, and as part of a mission to bring soccer to every neighborhood. And so we have been using HubSpot, the service, sales, and marketing hubs, and then CMS add-on as well. And so for me, just it's been a great tool. First time using HubSpot here since I joined the company in December, and loving it so far. It's very intuitive and a big great tool for our team. So just excited to continue getting better at it and learning more about it and unlocking even more of the options there to use it to our advantage.
Yes, excellent. Well, great to see you. You know, Michael, I know you've been working with Katie, but you and I haven't had a chance to meet directly. So nice to see you.
You as well.
All right. And then Tasha.
Yes, hello. My name is Tasha. I'm the marketing manager at In Time Tech. We're a software development company based out of Meridian. So we're very close to the Tribute office. And we are using marketing, sales, and service hubs. And really, you know, I attend these to learn, to contribute, and to meet other HubSpot users.
Awesome. Great to see you. All right. Well, without further ado, Madison, will you pull up the next slide for us to introduce Crystal? So for those of you who talked about using HubSpot Academy and doing some of the trainings there, Crystal is probably a familiar face. She is a social media professor at HubSpot Academy. She focuses on social media strategy. She has a MA from UMass Boston, and she has taught, which I think is like just so important. You know, when we think about people coming in to do these trainings, we don't want just people who know the tools. We want people who know how to teach other people how to use the tools. And Crystal is one of those people. She has tons of experience in teaching everything from creative writing and thinking and content strategy and all of that from Harvard Extension School, Boston University, UMass Boston, and Massachusetts College of Art. So I know she'll probably have a little bit that she wants to say about herself as well. So we will go ahead and stop sharing on our end and let Crystal take it away from here.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be with you all today. One of the things that Lindsay didn't mention is that I'm actually from Boise. I'm in Boston now, but I went to high school at Meridian and Centennial High Schools when Centennial was first built. So I'm very much dating myself when I say that, but my family's all still in Boise, and I get back there every once in a while to see how much it's growing, which just is mind-blowing. Eagle was like 2 buildings when I was there. So it's a very different world entirely now.
Yeah, we're hoping you'll come back for an encore when we can do an in-person and we can coordinate it with a trip out here.
Yeah, I would really like that. It makes things very easy too to visit the family and get my work stuff done at the same time. It's all good. So, okay, I'm going to share my tab. There we go. Okay. And actually, while I do this, I don't think, can I see it? I don't think I can. Yeah, I can't advance it. I won't be able to see you while I'm doing this, unfortunately. So I can't see the screen at all, but feel free to just, give me a, hey, Crystal, I have a question sort of thing. I do have a lot of content, so I'm going to run through it pretty quickly. If some of this could seem a little bit rudimentary to some of you who, especially if you've been doing social media for a while, so just bear with me. I'm going to go over a couple of different things, starting with some trends that we're seeing in social media. I'm going to talk a little bit about content, and then I'm also going to go over the social media tool in HubSpot itself too. You've heard a little bit about me. I've worked previously at a bunch of different tech companies at Pegasystems. I ran social media for Keurig, the K-Cup company, for a while. CA Technologies, I worked at Sybase before they were bought by SAP a while back. I don't have anything to do with those connections, unfortunately, but I can appreciate how challenging that could be to connect a very big enterprise system with something like HubSpot. On the side, I write books. I have 2 novels that you can pick up on Amazon, any bookstore, Feast of Sorrow and The Chef's Secret. They're books about chefs in Italy, one in ancient Rome and one in the Renaissance. And I bring that up not because I want to self-promote, although I do, but also because I am somebody who has to use social media to promote myself and my business. My business on the side is writing books. And one of the coolest things is that I get to have social media. I get to have HubSpot, actually the whole system, as a perk for free for life. So it is really amazing. To me, that is the best perk of working at HubSpot. But it's a great perk for me because it means that I can run all of the promotion for myself and my business through HubSpot. So I use for their newsletters. I use the contacts. I'm using all the marketing tools, and of course, I use the social media. So I'm not just somebody who's teaching it. I'm also using it as well. So I do understand some of the pain that you might feel from time to time when using HubSpot and trying to figure some of it out. Let's talk about social media in 2022 because it's changed a lot in the last couple of years, particularly because of COVID-19. As all of you know, I think maybe more so in certain parts of the country than others, social media really jumped as more and more people locked down and they stayed inside their houses. Here on the East Coast, where things were really felt very hard, you had people that didn't leave their houses for almost a year or more and stayed inside and worked from home. So it's something that really shifted social media in general because more and more people wanted connection with others, but they wanted to do it in a safe way. And so social media user numbers jumped by 13% in the first year alone, and over 500 million new users took to the global total up to 4.2 billion by the beginning of last year. And those are people that were kind of not doing much in social at all and decided I need to do this so I can know what's going on in the world and so I can stay connected. But what's really crazy is that 1.5 billion people installed TikTok in the last 2 years. That's incredible. It's like one of the highest and fastest user adoptions of an app ever. It also has changed how we think about video and social media too. And I'm going to talk more about that. It's changing the way we buy all of this and the way that we've shifted into using social media at home and using it more regularly. So more and more of us were making purchases using social media. So we would be on Instagram and make a purchase right from our phones or buy something because we saw it on TikTok or on Instagram first. 70% of internet users aged 55 to 64 purchased something online in the last month. So the idea that social media is just for young people is long blown out the window. That's not the case at all anymore. People of all ages use social media and use it to find services and products. However, 60% of Gen Zers in the US use Instagram. It is the place of choice, particularly for retail brands. Although there is a lot of B2B that can be found there and all sorts of really interesting videos for all kinds of industries and various sectors. B2B sales, as I was saying, are also forever changed. So McKinsey found that 70 to 80% of B2B decision makers prefer remote interactions or digital self-service. They don't really want to be sold to directly by a salesperson anymore. They want to schedule things on their own time, and they want to save money on travel, and they want to be able to do all their research online and not have to necessarily be bogged down with a salesperson. 705, that should be 70% of buyers stated they're willing to independently purchase new items online over $50,000. So it's not like they're just buying ties and electronics online. They're actually making very big purchases online in a way that people didn't think would ever happen without a salesperson directly involved. 27% of B2B buyers are comfortable purchasing in an excess of $500,000. That's incredible. I don't even think you could have said that, 2 or 3 years ago, but we've become a real digital society. And 90% of B2B decision makers want the remote and digital model to stick around for the long run. People don't want to get on the phone anymore. They don't want to have to rely on email necessarily. They want faster communication. They want to be able to find solutions on their own, and they want to be able to purchase them on their own. And that does create challenges for us in social. It means that we have to be thinking about how do we be in the places when people need us. It's an opportunity for us, though, because it means that people are looking for online engagement and they want to engage, but they want to do it online. And that's not necessarily like with a chatbot. It's actually in their social spaces and it's having conversations with people, and they want to talk with brands. People really want to have conversations like with brands in the same way that they might with their friends. It's expected in a lot of cases. It's a very different world than it was a few years ago. They're looking for real connections. Sales are no longer the priority for customers. Instead, they want information, they want engagement, and they want to be involved in things where their morals and their social issues matter to them. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So let's talk about some of the trends that we're seeing. So there's 4 big trends, and this is true for like the last couple of years. This has been the case. We have people that really care a lot about socially conscious issues, and they will buy with their wallet based upon the companies that they feel are in the places that they are as far as the things that matter to them in their world and their lives. And so companies need to engage more specifically in things in the like mental health, inclusivity, social justice. You might not want to be a company that's doing business with Russia right now, for example, because people are purchasing based upon where they believe that good is being done in the world and where things are not going well in the world. People want snackable content. And what I mean by that is like short form video, very snappy, fast video. That is here. The short video is not going away anytime soon. You're going to have Instagram and TikTok, and you even see YouTube has shorts now as well. You'll have all these short videos that will be dominant for a while moving forward. And live streaming. We're going to talk a little bit about live streaming, but people want to see video more than they want to see other types of content, and that includes live. And that creates a lot of opportunity as well. And they want you to be authentic. People do not trust brands in the way that they used to. They don't necessarily trust the social platforms either, and they don't always trust the media. So you have to find ways to promote authenticity with your brand and the people representing of your brand. And that means the human touch is super important. So let's start with that first one, the socially conscious audiences. So 88% of consumers want to support brands that have social causes aligned with their product or service. This can be really sticky waters to wade into. There's no doubt about it. But you first need to understand your audience. If you understand who your audience is and where they're making their purchases, the kind of media that they're consuming, the types of things that they care about, you'll be able to make the right decisions for your company based upon which issues that you should back or which issues you might want to stay away from, or if you can, stay neutral. It used to be the case. I used to be in PR for much of my career. For the first half of my career, I was in PR before I moved into social media. And it was the kind of thing where you would always stay as neutral as possible. You wouldn't necessarily say where your political leanings were. You wouldn't back certain issues. You would just leave it alone and hope that those things did not touch you. It's not actually the case anymore. People will call companies out if they think that the company is not doing the right thing, if they're making donations in the wrong places, or if they're doing business in the wrong place. And so you need to figure out where your loyalties lie and the kinds of things that your company believes in, and be willing to stand by that. And that, again, goes back to the target audience. And then the other piece of that is that you have to have a crisis plan. You have to be ready to say, hey, I'm going to stand by this, and this is what we're going to do if things go wrong. This is what we're going to do if there's controversy. For example, HubSpot is very, very dedicated to a mission of inclusivity and standing up for the rights of anybody, regardless of race, color, sexuality. And this is something that's extremely important to HubSpot as a whole. And they make no bones about it. And they will tell everybody what they're doing and how they're doing it. And this is something that the company stands by. And that's a conscious choice. And that may not necessarily be the kinds of choices that your company would want to make, but you can't just sit by and necessarily remain neutral anymore if your audience doesn't want you to remain neutral. So go back to your buyer persona, figure out who your buyer is and what they care about. Next is short form video. Short form video is it just is. TikTok is the most downloaded app in 2021, 2022. I think yesterday there was a big article, I think in Bloomberg, about how Barnes and Noble's sales are up something crazy like 21% over the last year. And books that were published 10 years ago are suddenly bestsellers because book talk is a thing. And all of these people, these people on TikTok are finding books and sharing them and talking about them. And it's changing the game and selling books and making authors money in a way that was unprecedented in the past. And it has the ability to do that because there's this viralness to TikTok that the other platforms just don't have in the same way anymore. Deloitte found that nearly 40% of Americans spend more than 1 hour per week watching short form video clips on social media. It's also not for kids anymore. It's also for B2B. There's a lot of B2B companies on there. I have a couple on here. If you look at Sage UKI, it's a company in the UK that has like one of their videos that they did has over 8.2 billion views for a little tiny B2B company. Adobe, Microsoft 365. There's, if you look up any hashtag for any industry, like manufacturing or solar energy, or there's medical TikTok is huge. There's all sorts of any kind of thing you can think of on you can find on TikTok now. Which means that there's a lot of opportunity for you, even if you had thought, oh, I don't know what to do with TikTok. There is a lot of opportunities. Go and find companies that are similar to yours that are using it, and look for interesting ways that maybe you can create a voice and be part of it. Because it's not that hard to be part of the conversation when it comes to TikTok, and to do it without advertising is interesting in a way that is not possible in the other channels right now. Oops, I'm going backwards. Okay, live video. Live video is huge. It's biggest on Twitch. I'll be really honest, about half of what we see in live video is for the gaming industry. So Twitch is really where it's at, but there's a lot of advertising possibilities on Twitch now as well. So if that's something you're interested in and getting tapped into an audience there, there's great advertising possibilities. But in general, the live streaming industry, it increased like 99% over the course of 2020. Definitely grew at least that much last year, and continues to grow. They think it will be up to almost 224 billion by 2028. And one stat here that I think is so fascinating is that 80% of consumers prefer live videos to blog posts. And that's kind of huge. So maybe instead of spending a couple hours writing a blog post, you spend 20 minutes putting together the ideas for a TikTok and you film it. And the great thing is, especially if you're a B2B, you can do a lot of like instructional types of videos and just conversations with your audience that could be really successful on TikTok in a way that you might not have realized. 87%, or not just TikTok, but YouTube. YouTube has big live streaming, Facebook live streaming, Twitter has live streaming. You can do live streaming on pretty much almost all the platforms, or there's some sort of audio component. So there's like Twitter Spaces, for example, is the audio competitor to Clubhouse. There's also a live. Oh, I'm having a big windstorm here, so apologies. The whole house just kind of shook. There's a lot of opportunity for live streaming on all the platforms. And 87% said that they liked live streaming because they could see behind the scenes videos. And so that's super cool because they like one of the great things about the B2B companies I've worked for is that we can give kind of that backdoor look, that conversation with the CEO that you might not get anywhere else, or being able to have candid conversations with people at a conference, or understanding how a product works, for example. When I was at Keurig, one of the coolest things that we did was a video where we went inside the machine and you could like kind of like a virtual sort of view of what the inside of the machine looks like. I don't know if you could do that live so easily, but you could do a conversation about it in live form, and that people would find that so cool. Or having your engineers talk about things, that sort of thing. Make sure your videos are very high quality and you have good sound. Regardless of what medium you're using, good sound is the most important. If you don't have good sound, people will tune out. And one of the big tips is to start on time. Anytime you're online and you're streaming, if you have a startup time greater than 2 seconds, people will have a higher drop off. So try to start on time if you're doing a live stream on a social platform. And the next is authenticity. A study by Edelman Trust showed that 57% of online users believe that media is contaminated with untrustworthy information. There's a ton of disinformation out there. In fact, long before the Ukraine-Russia war started, I would get up at 6:30 in the morning and I would look at my Twitter feeds and I'd see all sorts of political news that were trending. And I'm thinking, who on earth is up at 6:30 in the morning or sometimes earlier? And realizing that it was mostly a bunch of overseas bots that were feeding our social media with trends. So you have that sort of thing, and sometimes these are legitimate media sources that are chiming in from other places, and sometimes they're not. It's a ton of disinformation, and users have to weed through all of that. 65% of social media users are familiar with the Cambridge Analytica data breach, which was quite a few years ago now, and that's why we have so much distrust with Facebook. That's where it really began. And 37% of people use Facebook less as a result of that scandal. I would imagine it's even more so in the last couple of years because of the ongoing challenges that Facebook has had, particularly overseas. And so to counter the authenticity problem that we're having is that you need to really be honest and real. People want to see the faces of the people that work at your company. They want to hear from the people that are running it. They want to have conversations with people, not necessarily bots or somebody behind an anonymous image, unfortunately. They really don't want to buy from a logo. All right, so let's see. You are all familiar with HubSpot, it sounds like. And so you're probably familiar with inbound marketing. The coolest thing about inbound marketing is, of course, you've heard that it's really the more human way to do business. And this is especially true for social media. I think for me, before I came to HubSpot, I always felt like I was doing this anyway. It was important to me to try to create content that mattered to people, that provided value instead of pushing something at people. And that was mostly because that's how I wanted to be marketed to. I wanted to have information that was relevant to what my needs were in that moment. And I wanted to have conversations with people as I did that potentially. I don't like it when somebody's in my DMs and they're trying to sell me something and I don't even know who they are. And people don't want that. And that's why inbound marketing is so great. And so our inbound methodology has changed a bit over the years. And we have three parts to this flywheel now. And social media is perfect for it because you have the attract stage, the content that educates, informs, or entertains. It's how you get people in. You get them excited and talking about your brand or talking about something that cool about your products, but you get them interested. You can engage them by solving some of those problems for people. So instead of just necessarily being funny or providing facts, you can actually say, here's a video that might help you do this thing, or, here's a demo of a tool that's going to solve that problem for you. And then the connections and the entertainment. These are the moments where you can say, when somebody writes on Twitter how excited they were to use your product, you can write back and you can say, we're so excited that you are a fan of ours, or you surprise and delight them. You do things to make people feel excited that they're part of your ecosystem and that they're customers of yours. So that leads me into the content part. And I have a feeling that this section here might be a little bit easy for everybody. I think you kind of get it, but I'm going to go through it just really fast before I get into the HubSpot tools. And before I go into the HubSpot social tools, I'm going to pause and take questions because I can't see any of you. And so, which is not how I like teaching. I really like to see the people that I'm talking with to know that if I'm just like making everybody fall asleep or not.
Well, Crystal, just so you know, we don't have anything in the Q&A section yet, but for those of you, if you do have questions in the chat, there's the Q&A tab. If you want to drop questions in there, that way when Crystal gets to her stopping point, we can just grab questions straight from there.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, so when it comes to content, the number one goal you should have is to make a human connection. You want to resonate with people, and these are people that need your help or guidance. Remember how many people I told you were getting onto social media and all that whole disinformation thing? What you really need to find a way to do is to figure out who your audience is and then make a connection with them, and then continue to connect with them in a way that they will want to stay connected to you. And that means you have to figure out, how do I have my information ready for them when they are looking for information like mine? So instead of being kind of that billboard or that jingle that's just in their face like it used to be in days of old, it's more about how can you be a willing and helpful participant. And as you come up in search, or as people are looking for information like you, you are there and ready. A great example of this was I was overseas several years ago, and I had AT&T for my mobile plan. And I was super frustrated because the international plan that they had was terrible at the time. And I had to pay extra, like $150 extra, to get just a really pitiful amount of bandwidth in order to get to social media or to do things while I was overseas. And I ended up spending 3 or 4 hours on the phone of my vacation on hold with AT&T, trying to get somebody to solve a weird glitch that they had in the plan that I had. And they were just terrible to work with. And I came home and, or not, I wasn't even at home. I was still there. And I sent a tweet saying, I'm so frustrated with AT&T. I can't believe I'm on hold as long as I have been on my vacation. Like, I don't remember what the tweet was, but T-Mobile reached out and said, hey, I'm really sorry to hear you're having problems with that. I know how frustrating it can be. If you ever want to know more about our plans, we can do that. This is how we do it. But it wasn't pushy or anything like that. It was just, hey, we understand that can be frustrating. But they waited too for AT&T to respond. AT&T never responded to my tweet. And so after several hours, that's when T-Mobile reached out and said, hey, sorry you're not getting the help that you need. In case when you come back, if you're interested, you can reach out here. It was that kind of thing. And so several days later, they actually followed up in a tweet and said, hey, did you ever receive help? We'd be happy to be the kind of company that would help you. And I was just like, yeah, I kind of need some help. And nobody helped me. And here you are being proactive. And you saw that I had a need, and you were not pushy, but you were helpful. And so I signed with T-Mobile and have been with them for the last 6 or 7 years as a result of that. So that is the kind of connection that you need to find a way to make. It's not always easy to do that. But that's like, how do I be in the place where my customer is? So you monitor. That was what T-Mobile was doing. They monitored first. They got to know who their buyer persona is. They were looking for people that needed help, and they were there and ready to be there. So you monitor who your competition is. You monitor the kinds of people that are talking about the industry that you're in, and you get a sense of who that buyer is. If you don't know how to make a buyer persona, or really need to understand your buyer persona, we have a really cool tool at HubSpot. It's free, and it's called Make My Persona. I don't know if I know the exact URL. Let me see. Make Buyer Persona. Let me find it real fast. It's this cool thing. It'll walk you through it, and it's I think it's just called Make My Persona. Make My Persona. Yeah, HubSpot.com. And it's, if you just do a search for HubSpot.com, Make My Persona, it's a persona template, and it'll generate a whole template of what your buyer persona looks like based upon some certain questions that you answer. And it's super helpful, because then you can basically create all of your social media around this persona. You can do your competitive research around that persona. You can do social media audits with that persona in mind. So I highly recommend that you figure that out. And then you can do all the monitoring. Next, we talked about prioritizing video. I'm not going to play the video, but it's a very simple video. She's a jewelry creator. She's the president of her company. It's a small company, and she talks directly to the camera, and she says she's telling you about the jewelry of the day and how she made it. And this is what I mean about like really simple, down to earth, authentic kinds of video. You can just get on on video and just give a tip of the day based upon the kinds of things that your company is working on or products you have. A great example of this is these short videos that one of our professors, Kyle Jepson, who's our sales professor, he does these on LinkedIn. If you do a search for Kyle Jepson on LinkedIn, almost every day or every other day, he'll get on there and he'll do like 30 seconds or a minute of a tip based on something he's excited about with the product. And he does these all the time, and it gets incredible engagement, and it keeps him top of mind for people and gets people excited about HubSpot and feeling better about HubSpot. But they're just quick, off the cuff videos, and they're just a really fantastic way to stay in touch with an audience. And this is important because in around Christmas last year, they announced TikTok had surpassed Google as the most popular web domain. That's a big news. It's huge. So that short form video and thinking about TikTok, it's definitely something you should keep in the back of your mind. You shouldn't probably wait too long to start using it. And a 2021 HubSpot poll found that 85% of marketers ranked short form videos as the most effective type of social media content. That's because you get so much engagement. They're fast. People can click through it quickly. They're just that snackable content. And Valerie, I guess she's going to talk to you anyway. Use hashtags wisely. If you're on Instagram, one of the things you might have seen is that there used to be 30 hashtags that you could use. Instagram is deprioritizing those hashtags now. If there's posts with tons of hashtags, they look at it as kind of like ways to spam and game the algorithm. Instead, they're giving more priority to like anywhere from 4 to 6 hashtags. Tweets with 2 hashtags in it have tweets with hashtags in it have 2 times more engagement than those without, and 55% more retweets. So you do want to use hashtags, but you want to be smart about them. One of the ways that you can do this is you can look for there's services like Hashtagify and allhashtags.com that allow you to find what's trending in hashtags. And so you can use hashtags that are popular with your audience. So I would definitely recommend checking out one of those services. They are free. And then there's, I think, tiered services for like analytics and stuff like that too. You also want to provide value. But the thing that I want you to keep in mind is that not everything you post has to be about your product. This is a great example, this ASOS video, their clothing brand, but they posted a video of a picture of nails. It's not a product. They don't even tell you what sweater she's wearing, but it's something that they know is interesting to their audience. And so this is a way for them to entertain, to inspire, to stay connected. So not everything has to be about your product. It can be peripheral to your product. It can be industry based. You can share information from other places in your industry and be seen as a thought leader and not necessarily have it be about your product. You can also talk about your customers and you can talk about your partners and share information that way. So as long as think about it like, how am I providing value? It doesn't always have to be about your product or your company. So keep this in mind, that share content that satisfies these 3 things: that to be entertained, to be informed, and to be connected. Those are the 3 things that people really want. They don't want to be sold to. So that is the other thing to keep in mind. Okay. You want to be smart about copy, check spelling, all of that. This is all basic. One of the things though is that the shorter your message is, the more your chances are of it being retweeted. So when you're packing that tweet all the way to the end of the 280 characters, it's really hard for people to have a comment that they want to add. And people like to do that. And they like to do it so that it appears a little bit more without text being cut off. So if you have shorter tweets, it's generally better. And don't forget to tag. And you can use tags as in a variety of ways. But if you're tagging other companies, or you're tagging partners, or you're tagging people, it boosts your chance of that social media post being seen in their followers' feeds. And that's important because it gives you some additional reach beyond your particular audience. You can see here this IBM, it's in dark mode. I apologize for that. They've tagged Fast Company. They were in the Fast Company article. So make sure you're always tagging other people because then their audience may see it as well. And then curating customer content is huge. It's especially big in retail, but we do it at HubSpot too when people are really excited about us. You can see here that Rue21 shared a post from a user and mentioned it via Steffi. I can't really see it here, but mentioned it here. The important thing is that you should always ask. Here's the original post by Steffi. And they ask her, love the photo. Would it be okay if we shared it on our digital properties? If so, reply yes. So they asked for permission. It's not enough just because they tagged you. You want to be that authentic, human, kind person that has asked for that permission. And always include a call to action. This is really tiny to see here, but the American Red Cross has given they've highlighted a volunteer, and there's information on where you can go if you want to be a volunteer as well. You should always have a call to action of some kind, and that could even just be a hashtag. There's a lot of retail brands that I've seen that will have like hashtag sale or hashtag today only or something like that, and then or link in bio. So you want to always have that call to action if you can. And then lastly, on the content side of things, you want to be consistent. When you're posting really haphazardly, it breaks the possibility of that platform algorithm and having the same people re-engaging with your posts. Because if people are engaging with your posts, it's more likely that the next time they're on, they'll see another post of yours. And then the more posts they see and the more affinity that they build, the more likely they are to share with their audiences, and the more likely their audiences are to see your content. So when you're posting regularly and people are regularly engaging with your content, you just have a better chance at being seen within the various platform algorithms than if you're posting once a week here on Instagram and then maybe here on Twitter, and then once a blue moon you put a YouTube video out. It's really, consistency is key. That cadence is super important. That's not always easy, especially if you're a small business. But again, it can be those simple, small, short videos like I was mentioning that my friend Kyle does for HubSpot Academy. All right, so I'm going to pause here and take any questions on all of that before I talk about the tool itself. And I'm going to actually look at all of you because I can't see you.
No actual questions in the Q&A section yet, but please, if anyone needs to unmute and ask your question in real time, please feel free to do so.
I know I was speaking really fast.
And by the way, Crystal, I did drop that persona tool in the chat, so that is
okay. Yeah,
grab.
Yeah, it's also fun to do. It's kind of cool to just like go through it and answer. It's like it's a little quiz actually. So, yeah. All right, no questions. I'm gonna power through and get right into the HubSpot tool then.
Sounds good.
One last call. All right. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen again. All right, so let's get into the tool itself. Some of you, it sounds like you're using it, and others are going to use it or maybe want to. I use the social media tool for all of my stuff, for the things related to my author account and my personal accounts. There are 3 things you should keep in mind while you're building that strategy: the buyer persona, your business goals, and then also tie-in campaigns. Because this is the cool thing that HubSpot allows you to do that you can't really do very easily with other types of platforms, is it allow you to tie all your campaigns in to your social media. So I can create a campaign, for example, let's say I have a book campaign of an event I'm doing. I can do all my social media posts for that event. I can tag within that campaign. I can have an email newsletter that mentions that campaign, be part of that, that mentions the event, be part of the campaign. I can have ads that I do with Facebook or LinkedIn that are fed through HubSpot marked in the campaign. I can have my YouTube videos that I might do or maybe it's the actual video. I can have that linked as the campaign, blog posts, everything. I can have it all in one place. Then I can go back through and look at that campaign and see which type of content did the best for me, and I can make adjustments for the next time I do something. And that's super powerful. And not very many platforms allow you to have that holistic view. So you definitely want to think about tie-in campaigns. And so we're going to start with monitoring. I hope this isn't too small for you, but basically we're going to be, this is kind of a little bit of an insider news. We're looking at how do we revamp the monitoring, because we know that there's a lot of good positive changes that could be made. I know that the team is working on it, and I've seen some of the what they're planning on doing, which I can't really talk about yet. But look for changes in the monitoring to come over the next few months, and they're very positive, good changes. And so hopefully by the end of the year, that you'll start to see some shifts there. But what's really cool about the monitoring is that, of course, you can see all your conversations, you can see the interactions, you can see your new followers, and you can interact with your audience from those pages. You can also do a couple other really cool things. You can see when you have a contact and you're linking them into social, you can link the two of those together. And I can see which of my contacts are on Twitter, for example, and create a list of just my customers, the people that follow me. For example, for me, my customer are all the people that follow that subscribe to my newsletter and subscribe to my blog. Those are likely customers of mine. And so I can see all their tweets because I have a feed that I monitor that's just my customers. And so I can look at these people too and see what interactions I've had with them. I can see all the tweets that I've had with Stephanie, who's actually a fellow author. I can see more about her, and I can understand what my interactions that I've had with this particular person are. And like I said, you can create Twitter streams, and these can match lists that you already have created in Twitter. So for example, one of the things that I do in Twitter is I want to know who all the book reviewers are and the book press are. So I have lists it's a private list, but it's like all of these book editors and book reviewers on this list that I want to have small engagement with over time. And so I can monitor them in my social media in HubSpot and create a stream there. And then if they're a customer or like they've subscribed to my blog, I can see what my interactions are and I can see more information about them. So it's kind of cool. It allows you to monitor your competitors, allows you to keep up on your partners. I also watch for HubSpot Academy, and I can see people that are taking HubSpot Academy courses and respond to them. And so you can create streams right here based upon lists that you already have in Twitter, or you can create new streams based on the customers that you have in your contacts within HubSpot. And streams just help you listen better. As I was mentioning, you can track things like industry influencers, your press, your shareholders, employees, and figure out who's engaging with you most and help build that loyalty. And then there's the social publishing. And this is what I use the most. And probably if you've been using the tool, this is the one thing that you understand probably the most. And so this is how is having the ability to create the post really easily from within HubSpot, but also within a bookmark tool. I use the bookmarklet a lot because I share a lot of curated content, and I can talk about that in a little bit here. So I mentioned the campaigns. You can see, like, here's an example of a post where I've tied it into a campaign, and I can see what's happening on that in relation to that campaign on my posts. And I can also go into the campaigns that I've set for certain types of things like a book launch or an event, and I can see all of the material in one place. So it's really amazing. And it's something that, like I said, a lot of the other platforms, you can't collectively look at your blog, your social, your newsletter, your sales funnel. You can't look at that all in one place in the same way. You can schedule things very easily within the tool. I'm actually going to move forward because I think it shows you a little bit more in the next one. But you can clone posts. You can create drafts. There's a new system where you can create, you can have somebody who's creating it all, and then somebody else can approve the posts. You can associate them with the marketing campaigns. The social schedule in HubSpot is a little interesting in that what you do first is you set up a social schedule. And this schedule allows you to pick a set of times on every single day. And you can vary those times or have them at the same time on every day. And so what will happen is when you're ready to post something, it will just pick the next available time, or you can pull up a drop down and it will ask you to choose one of the next few available times, but you set them all up ahead of time. And so you have a sense of when things will post, but based upon a schedule that you've already created. And so what's also cool though is that you can do this idea of publishing like a human. And this is on that same page when you set up your schedule, which is in your settings, by the way. It's not in the social part itself, it's in your settings and then the social section. But you can publish, if you hit publish like a human, let's say I have the next time that my post would be is at 10:10 on Monday morning. You don't really want somebody to notice that you always post at the exact same times, right? Even though that's what your schedule is set. So the post like a human actually will adjust it within a few, like 10 or 15 minutes of that time. So it might post at 9:55 or it might post at 10:20. So it looks, or 10:18 or whatever. So it looks like a human is actually behind it, even though there's automation involved. You can also set up your you can see here publish quickly and easily from your browser. And there's a Chrome extension. It's only in Chrome, but what it does is it adds a bookmarklet to your browser. And so if you're on an article that you want to share, or maybe a blog post from your own company, something on your website that you want to share, you can actually click the bookmarklet and a drop down will happen, and it will look just like this here, this idea of the social post. It'll look just like this. You can choose which platform and then create your social post, and then you can schedule it right there, even though you've never left the article that you're reading. And so you can view all of this by your calendar too. If you're in the main social page on the scheduling, there's a little menu on the left. You may not have necessarily noticed there's a calendar option, but you can click on the calendar and it will show you all the days that you have things scheduled. And so you can get a sense of how much is scheduled or if there's particular days that are missing. So you can see here, I don't post much on the weekends, which could be a miss for me. And so those might be days when I want to think about, okay, is there different kinds of content I might want to post on those days? And then of course, you can report on your success. One thing that's great about HubSpot is that not only can you look at the posts that you have within HubSpot, but if you're posting on Twitter, it will also pull in everything that you post natively on Twitter or in other places. It will still pull it in, and you can still analyze those posts within HubSpot, even though you've posted them somewhere else. I feel like it might do that for Facebook too, but don't quote me on that. It definitely will for Twitter. And so you can view your reports. And so my reports include what I can parse it out by, is it just what I've published through the HubSpot tool, or is it also all of the other stuff that I published natively on those other platforms, which is really nice because sometimes I do post directly on the Twitter web page on desktop, or if I'm on my phone or something, I might do it directly to Instagram. I tend to post natively on Instagram rather than using the tool. Just because I'm usually out and about when I do something on Instagram, but it will still pull it all into HubSpot, and I can look at my stats here, which is really great. It will also pull in all your YouTube reports. So this is a slightly easier place to see what's going on with YouTube. The graphs are a little bit easier to read, I find. And so you can get a sense of what's happening on YouTube by just in your social tools in HubSpot. Even though you can't post to YouTube from HubSpot, you can still look at your reports.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Oh,
my apologies.
Siri seems to think I'm talking to it, but no. Sorry about that. And you can view your reports. You can see what's working well, what's not working well. You can adjust that. But it's really nice to be able to look at all of your posts very easily and quickly. And that's all I got to talk about. If you haven't taken the social media cert, you can do that through a HubSpot Academy. It will go way more in depth than what I've done here, more on strategy, more on how do you figure out ROI from your social media tools, everything from content, how do you think about SEO in your posts, how do you use the different platforms, how do you create buyer personas, all that good stuff. It's all in the social media cert. And so I'm going to stop sharing and answer any questions. I know I went really, really fast.
Yeah, please, anybody jump in. I think I just have to say as a side note, it's so funny. One of our usual hug attendees, Nikki from Intermountain Pet Hospital, she's been asking for this for so long. And then I saw on social media the other day, she posted a picture from the plane on her way to Hawaii. So while I don't feel too sorry for her, I'm sad she missed this. I know she was really excited to get this content. We'll make sure she gets gets the presentation and everything. But I know it was definitely one that was asked for by Nikki and some others in the hug community here. So please, everyone, don't be shy. Ask Crystal your questions. For those of you who've been around for a while, it's not every quarter that we get a HubSpotter joining us. So please feel free to pick her brain.
I'm happy to answer questions about stuff that's not in there too. So, if you have general social media questions, I can try to answer them.
Crystal, do you ever see the opportunity for being able to tag people instead of just company pages through HubSpot?
No, and that's a Facebook API problem because there were too many bad actors that would just randomly tag people and spam. So you can only tag other businesses, unfortunately. So yeah, but it's useful to use for partners and things like that. You can certainly mention customers in your posts, but you can't tag them, unfortunately.
I have one. We have been running a couple different posts from LinkedIn, and we've noticed that anytime we link any sort of resource, it overrides our URL with like a HubSpot URL. Have you heard of any sort of change to that, to where we could customize what URL is getting actually sent out?
I think it's mostly just because that way you can measure campaigns and things like that. If you can add a Bitly link in, so if you use Bitly or another type of service, you can still track your URLs in other places. It will just reframe it into I think it's Hubsly is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's mostly so that it can track everything within HubSpot, but it shouldn't mess up your tracking that you're using in other places.
Yeah, it's more so like the leading part of the URL. So for like linking to our website, it's becoming like hubs.tavudilms, whatever, and so we were just trying to see if there was a way to like retain like our branded URL.
So I don't have the answer for that, but I will find out for you.
Oh, thank you.
I can try to do that. It might take me a tiny bit to track that down, but because I have to find the right person. But I can definitely see what I can do. Okay, so and I'm assuming, Lindsay, I can just send you any information. You can get them to the right people.
Yeah. Yes, we should be able to. Callie, I know you and I are connected outside of this, so that will be good. We can't get the emails from Bevy just because you registered, but Callie, I do have your email, so I'm sure you get that.
Yeah, thanks. And I can drop it in the chat too if that's easier.
Okay, that works too. And Jeffrey, I saw that you had a question, but only part of your mute was off. Now you're muted on Bevy and nope. Try the headset.
How about now?
There you go.
Okay. So in the last, say, 2 years, what kind of posts, social posts that you've been doing have gotten the most engagement that results in an ROI?
I'm writing her email down while I'm really quick. Let me do that. TV. Okay. So I would say, well, because I'm an author, I'm a public personality in that regard. I'm selling books. For me, it's when I'm personally in a video or I'm personal a picture of me. But I find that really fascinating. I am not a millennial. I'm a Gen Xer. I don't necessarily take a ton of selfies. That is just not my thing. And for me, it feels really weird to post lots of photos of myself where younger generations don't. It's like that's what you do. And but people, there's been all sorts of studies that show how much people want to see the people behind the screen. They want to see the people that are working at the companies. They want to see this is why people connect with influencers so much. When I post just a photo of myself, it's like 3 times the engagement of my other types of things. So I find that really fascinating. And I think that's also why somebody like my colleague Kyle, when he does these quick posts, it's him talking to his audience. He's telling them, "Hey, I found this cool thing. I want you to know about it." This is why like little educational types of things do really well for especially B2B companies. That's the kind of thing that will do really well in social these days. It's just that quick, personable, conversation. People want that conversation, and it's not always comfortable or easy to do, but that's what people want.
Thank you. That's great to hear. It's interesting.
Well, I have another tool question. And I'll ask this on behalf of Nikki. I know in the past we've kind of all asked the question of, do we see the HubSpot social scheduling tool accommodating things beyond posts? Like, so for example, you can schedule a video post, but not necessarily a story or a reel. Is that something that could be changing?
So I know that that is all really dependent on the platforms and what the platforms allow third parties to do. So right now, Instagram does not allow you to post reels directly, for example. And so as soon as that became available, I know that we would do that. And same with stories. You can't really do stories on Facebook or Instagram. And so as soon as those types of things become available, I know that our team will be like on it and wanting to do that. And there's no great API that allows you to do TikTok either. So this is something that they're always looking at. When, how do we add this or when can we think about that? And so we would want those things in the exact same way, I promise. But we're really limited by the way that the APIs are from the platforms, unfortunately.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Howard here. I had a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm just video will be off because my bandwidth is being very
No
funky
worries.
again. But for the LinkedIn videos, because my company primarily deals with B2B, have you found success in the same format for like just the same person face talking about the same educational resource or just kind of like giving a small tidbit? Because we found like varied success, and our company is an engineering special systems provider for connecting buildings, I guess. And so like we found that like it's kind of like hit or miss. Like we get some GIFs or some small formats that work really well, and then some that don't. And we're kind of like trying to find this medium. It's very, very difficult, unfortunately. Is there a standardized method for B2B or?
No, it's a lot of testing, actually. So it sounds like you found some things might hit and other things don't. Try to do more of what hits. I mean, that sounds really simplistic, I realize.
Yeah.
Definitely look and see what your competitors are doing, and maybe if there's certain things they're doing that are resonating. And check TikTok. Seriously, look for hashtags that are based on your industry. If you're doing anything like, if it sounds like you said construction sort of stuff.
We do, yeah. It's the I did the competitive analysis, and they're all recycling human, like those like inclusivity, diversity, and it's like the blank face corporate, like,
Yeah,
so
nobody
here
wants
in
that.
Clever, like they do so much of it because the construction industry is archaic, for a lack
Yeah,
of a better
seriously, go to TikTok and just start putting in hashtags relating to things relating to the construction industry.
word.
Because I did that actually recently. My father and my brother are in construction,
Hmm.
and construction TikTok is a thing, and a lot of it is actually the construction workers and things that happen on the site.
Yeah.
But that could also give you ideas. It could give you a sense of maybe the kinds of things that people are talking about, the kinds of problems that people are having. There might be more different kinds of ways that you could approach video, different types of questions that people have that maybe you can create answers for. But seriously, give it a look. It's worth like just doing a whole bunch of hashtags on all sorts of just random things in TikTok. You'd be surprised at what it might pull back for you. But unfortunately, there's no blanket thing. A lot of the corporate stuff is really boring.
Mhm.
And that's why working sometimes with certain influencers might be of interest. In your space, that could be tricky. But sometimes there's crossovers and things. Like, is there a DIY person that happens to, renovate houses that might have something to do with your, that's a YouTube star that might have some connection in some way? Or there could be like even peripheral types of connections that could be of interest. So this is where you have to get really creative and think out of the box. And it's hard. I don't envy you in that regard. B2B can be really tricky.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate the tips because right, like I forget, like I can just go and take a look at TikTok. Like I've been like just focusing on Instagram. I'm like, hello, yes.
Yeah, I mean, TikTok is a time suck. As soon as you flip it on, next thing you know, like 30 minutes are gone, and you're like, "What happened to my life?" So, so you have to be a little focused when you're looking. But I am constantly shocked at the creativity that people have and the way that brands are starting to think about it. It forces you to have to think very differently.
I see. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Hopefully my boss isn't gonna I have a legitimate reason
I
to tell
swear.
the boss. I swear. This is for research,
It's for science.
right?
You can send them to me if there's problems.
Well, I think, Crystal, that just brings up, I think, a really good, thing for all of us to remember all the time when it comes to inbound marketing is it's about, I mean, it's so easy to think about what the decision stage looks like that sometimes we forget to think about what happened earlier in the buyer's journey for people. What were they thinking about and what were they looking for before they knew what they were looking for?
Yeah.
And really going back to that original pain. And I know, Howard, this doesn't help you because this is an example I always use and it's not B2B at all, but it's the idea of, somebody looking for an eye doctor. They might not be searching for glasses or optometrist. They might be searching something frequent headaches, and you have to think about what is on their mind or what their pain is, literal or not, before they even know what their options are for solving it. And so I think that we can always generate a ton of content ideas when we start to really take a trip backward in the buyer's journey, and understand what those pain points are.
I feel like it might have been Simon Sinek, marketing guru guy. I feel like it might have been him that said, when people are looking to buy a drill, they're not looking for a drill. They don't want a drill. They want to make a hole. So that's what they want. And so they're looking for a solution that will allow them to make the hole. And so it's like, you have to think about that first stage of it before you ever even get to the drill part. So that is something we often forget about.
Hey, Crystal, I had a quick question. This is Taylor. So you mentioned influencers a couple times, and I know that's pretty big and growing in terms of just a strategy on social media. And even like some smaller businesses are looking for ways that they could do that. So do you have any recommendations, I guess, for how to even get started, you know, whether it's building relationships with influencers or how to find the right influencers, just any advice you might have?
Yeah, I actually have a lesson in the social media cert. There's one video all about like how do you connect with influencers and things to think about when you're building that relationship. So you can go there for more detailed stuff. But building relationships is key. It's and one of the things I don't have the stats in my head, but I've seen studies on how the niche influencers, the people that might have 10,000 or 20,000 followers actually can be better than people that have several million, for example, because the people that follow them may be more loyal and more willing to buy something if they say that it's great. And so working sometimes with the niche influencers can be more important, and it's more affordable, especially for small companies, right? So figuring out who those people might be. So that's following people in social, seeing what they're posting, seeing if other brands if they're talking about other brands. And one of the things that when you start to work with an influencer, when you approach them, a lot of companies make the mistake of thinking, I'm going to have them do what I want them to do. Whereas working with a lot of influencers, that's not really going to fly. They got where they are today because they offered something special to the people that follow them, something that's interesting. And so brands have to give up a little bit of control when they work with these influencers. They can say, hey, this is what we want to do. This is the product we're selling. What could you do? And let them be the ones that make the decision. And how they would promote it or how they would share it or how they would talk about it. And giving them the freedom to make those decisions and then run them by you. You also want to make sure that you're working with somebody who's above bar, that's willing to say that they're working with a sponsor and that they have ads, because the FCC requires you to declare all that, which you probably know working in an agency. But some influencers might be willing to kind of forgo that, but you really want to, as from an agency and a brand perspective, you want to make sure that you're always disclosing what those relationships are. I don't know if that really answered your question, because it's a sort of a big, broad question. But if you just do a search in HubSpot Academy for social influencers, the video should pop up, and I go through that pretty heavily on like how do you work with influencers? How can you find them? There's a whole bunch of companies that work with influencers. You can find them through that. But I actually just recommend doing searches, figuring out who the people are in the spaces that you care about, and then watching them, following them, and maybe having a conversation directly with those individuals.
Awesome. Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, we've got about 6 minutes left of our scheduled time. And, you know, we always open up for general Q&A, and I know everyone's been asking some really good social media questions, but it's also a good opportunity while you've got a lot of other HubSpot users in the group. If anybody has a challenge or a win that they want to share, this would be a good place to start that conversation and maybe pick it up or get some tips through this community online, either in the HubSpot community or on our LinkedIn group. Does anybody here have any, first and foremost, any specific questions for Crystal still, or if it's something unrelated to this presentation, maybe she still has an answer or can get one working where she works. And then if not, anything else that you want to run by the other folks in the group.
It is the end of your day, isn't it?
All right. Well, if there isn't, gosh, Crystal, we super appreciate having you here. Like I said, I would love to schedule an encore one of these days when we can be back to in person, and you can come visit Boise and visit us here at Tribute Media, and maybe get in front of the whole group. And like I said, the content you shared today was just super valuable. You've such a unique perspective, both from your experience working at HubSpot and working in the HubSpot tools for your own brand. So yeah, I think that was super valuable, and can't thank you enough for joining us today and for putting together such a wonderful, thoughtful, complete presentation for us on every aspect of social media. So
thanks for having me. I always love talking to other HubSpot customers, so it's great.
Yes, absolutely. Well, again, as a matter of just sort of housekeeping, we will get this recording and supplementary materials out, links, things like that to everybody here in the next day or so. Be on the lookout for that. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone. The chat is just all abuzz with lots of thanks for you, Crystal. So thanks again. And thank you, everybody who attended. And please, if there are other people in your organization using HubSpot that you think could benefit, please make sure they subscribe to the Bevy, basically the events HubSpot page for Boise, and make sure that we get everybody who wants to be involved and who could benefit from this group, because the bigger our community gets, the more problems we can solve together. So again, thanks everyone for being here, and we will stay in touch with details for our next hug. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.